Why your brain feels foggy and you can't focus. Now, what I hear a lot in the practice is the inability to concentrate. So you wake up in the morning, you feel a little bit groggy. You kind of clutch yourself in, you might have a coffee or something, then you go through your day. And then what you're noticing is you just can't quite concentrate. Something feels like there's a heaviness around your head. Sometimes it feels like the whole body's heavy, but you just feel off. And sometimes you can't quite put your words on it. You go speak to family, friends, and they don't quite understand, because that feeling of brain fog, focus, concentration, not everyone experiences it the same. Now, whether you're a parent, whether you're working in business, whether you're a student, we see this completely across the board, and it's disruptive and it gets in the way. Now, a common idea, people will come to us and they would have tried the supplements, they would have tried the medication, they would have tried sleeping more and changing their sleep schedule. Now, whilst these things have their value, a lot of people, by the time they find us or different aspects of practice, they've tried a lot of different things. Now, that's not to say that attending to your sleep isn't really good. It's a necessary thing. That's not to say spending more time outside, more time grounding on natural surfaces isn't beneficial, because it is. And the anti-inflammatory or pro-inflammatory and regulatory impacts they have are really, really good. However, there are people still who are doing those practices, and you still may be doing those different things and nothing seems to be shifting. Now, this is really important because two people can be living in the same environments, doing similar particular therapies, but still have completely different health outcomes. One person may be always outside, grounding, in natural sunlight, but they still may be having brain fog. They still may have problems focusing. And on the flip side, someone may be completely in the least optimal environment and may actually not have any. So there's a difference in the person that's really, really important to address. Now, what we're going to talk about, I'm not going to be talking about any of supplements, medication, etc. I want to just lay down some basic principles that we're going to go over as to why your brain fog and focus may be in how your nervous system is being impacted rather than something outside of you. Because again, if two people in similar environments or two people in completely different environments, those two individuals may still be having completely different experiences of focus, brain fog, concentration. Let's get into it. That is really important to acknowledge some basic principles that we approach with chiropractic. We understand that our bodies, your body, is a self-healing, self-regulating system that is designed, when working optimally, to keep you in optimal health. And optimal health doesn't mean no symptoms, because if you don't sleep for 4 days straight and you feel like you're losing focus and you're going to sleep, that's actually a really good thing. However, if you're getting consistent symptoms of that heaviness around the head, that inability to concentrate over a long period of time, then chances are there's some sort of regulatory issue that may be going on in your nervous system or in your body. Now, when it comes to chiropractic, we focus on working with and optimizing your natural ability to heal and regulate properly through supporting the nervous system. Now, there's a few mechanisms that we can speak about as it relates to supporting your nervous system in the context of focus and concentration. Now, a big one that many of you may know about is the first, and that is blood flow. Now, our brains are meant to receive a huge amount, 20% of the blood flow that goes to the rest of your body, because it needs that activity. The second one, well, blood flow, that's arterial and venous, which we'll speak about. Another important one is CSF. Whoa, don't mind that. CSF flow. And then the third one is lymph, and I've definitely done those in colors that I wouldn't prefer, but c'est la vie. Yeah. So these three things we'll talk about first. Now, let's start with blood flow. So when it comes to blood flow, if you have a look at this diagram here, so you can see the head. Can you see the abundance of blood vessels that are wrapped around all of these neck muscles around the skull and around the face? Now, this is really important because when we're looking at the top of the neck and the head, if we've got, let me see if I can draw here. So when you're looking here, if you just draw your attention to around the neck, you can see all of, and they haven't got all the blood vessels here, but you can see the blue and the red. Now, the reason this is important, when it comes to blood flow, when the blood supply to the head is impacted, that then causes more stress on the flow to and from the brain. And if our brain's meant to have an abundance of blood flow back and forth from it, that then disrupts how well the nervous system of the brain functions. And it's not uncommon when you have stress in the neck and the upper neck especially, that blood flow can be impeded. So if you look at it like this, you've got the head, then you've got the neck. Now the neck's meant to have a nice C curve like this. There, bends in if you can see there. Now most people, their necks don't look like that at all. So if we have a look at what most people's necks look like, how can I go back? There we go. Most people's necks are like this, way too far forward. Now, when the neck goes too far forward, what that does is it increases strain on those top blood vessels, on basically your blood flow to and from the head. Now, if you've got that strain on blood flow to and from the head, you're already reducing the capacity for your brain to function. Now, akin to that, a lot of people then think, okay, have I got a decent curve? They'll then push their head straight back like this. Oh, I'm stood upright. But what that actually does, it just compresses the cervical spine more. Rather than creating an openness and a nice C curve with a skull that's well supported, it actually then just compresses the neck, which is why when it comes to stuff like a spinal correction to support the nervous system, you can't just look at one aspect, and you can't just force on the outside what looks like proper posture when we actually need to create stability. And there's a difference. There's a difference between this and nice curve openness. So that's when it comes to blood flow. Now, blood flow is responsible for two things. It supports oxygen. Let me see if I can write this. Blood flow supports two things. It supports oxygen delivery and then waste drainage, so CO2. So oxygen up, CO2 out. When we get poor blood flow, what happens, rather than the oxygen going up and the CO2 out, CO2 and other waste can backflow in the brain, and there's also a reduced uptake of oxygen to the brain. This can also, I think, could be why, with the cases of brain fog, concentration, deficits, that, you know, when people get up from a low surface up, they sit up from being lie down or stand up from seated, while they can all of a sudden get quite a rush or a drop, or they feel unstable for a bit. That's not uncommon at all for what we see here when in the context of brain fog, focus and concentration. Now, if we move on to the second thing. Now, the second thing here you can see is CSF. So now if we look here at this top diagram, you'll be able to notice how you've got this yellow tube going through two of the ones. So look at image B and image D. Now, when you have got this CSF flow, now I want you to think of CSF as this fluid that supports the brain, cushions it from banging around the skull. It supports nutrients and waste drainage again, much like the blood. Now, when we've got proper CSF flow, nutrients drains well, support to the brain is good as well, and the brain feels nice and cushioned, rather than like you have a constant pressure building up. However, if you see from the left side, A and B, nice normal curve in the spine, there's less pressure on that yellow tube. Now, if you look at C and D on the right, you'll be able to see how when there's a loss of that curvature, especially the top two vertebrae of the neck, you can see that yellow tube with the red around it changes its form. Now, when it changes its form significantly enough for a long time enough, this has the potential to then put more stress on that fluid flowing to and from the brain that's meant to be reducing waste blockage up to the brain, stagnating flow, and also supporting normal neurological function. And Michael Flanagan wrote a fantastic book on this for anyone interested. But the reason this is important is if we bring proper movement of the spine, alignment of the upper neck, and then support that with the rest of the structure, we take pressure, or you can take pressure off of that area to support your normal nervous system function. The mother of ours, Kerry, who I've been providing care for some time now, noticed that her focus and energy was significantly impacted, and she had assignments due regularly and she just couldn't get into it. Like, she was caring for her little ones, getting them to or from their hobbies, but she also had assignments that she was going through study. And since her nervous system's been functioning better, she's noticed not only the headaches, the migraines better, her training's a lot better, but her energy, productivity, and focus have significantly improved. And that's not because we gave a particular thing for that, but it's just because, like I said at the beginning, the body has now begun to function normally. And if our bodies are meant to function at their best, rather than trying to force the body that way, we want to enable the nervous system to function at that better level. Now, the last one, which is one of my personal favorites, is lymph. So if we look at this third diagram, if we have a look at this third diagram here, you'll see, and a lot of people have heard of lymph. It again drains waste. You can see a common theme here. Let's go up. Drains waste, and then supports immune system function. So basically getting rubbish to and from the brain out of the way. The really interesting thing here is none of the lymph vessels or the lymphatic system in the body is at the head and the neck. Now, the head and the neck doesn't mean you just go straight to the head of the neck. That's supported by the entire body. But proper function in the head and neck, supported by the rest of the body, you're then putting more physiological stress onto your nervous system that is there designed to help you stay clear, stay focused, and away from that brain fog sensations. And you can see all of the ones on the graph here, the little green nodules. Now, again, you can notice how a lot of them are around the neck, around the face, which is why you can sometimes, when you feel that lack of focus or that brain fog sensation, you can feel nauseous and quite sick. Again, it's potentially linked to this poor waste drainage in another lymphatic system. So what is the goal? The goal is to reduce as much stress onto the system as possible to support normal neurological functioning. Now, our bodies are naturally hugely connected. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because you can see all these different curves in the spine. Now, with all these different curves in the spine, naturally, if you impact one area, another area is going to change. So rather than just hyper-focusing on, say, a symptom, if you have a headache around the head, but what we want to do is work in our context on the physical aspects of things that may be contributing to the headaches, the migraines, and the focus. Because if you are a parent and you're constantly on the go, if you're a business owner, if you're a worker in a practice, if you're working as a job that you need to get deadlines done, you need to be doing stuff high focused all the time, then it's going to be really difficult to do so if you're not at your best. And what we want to do is ensure that your body and nervous system function at its best. And if you can, that's when you'll see I can go through daily life better. I can get my deadlines done. I can go through my rest periods and actually feel rested. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because when it comes to a complaint or an experience of health like this, a symptom like this, a lot of times it's easy to get caught in the minute, specifically on that problem, rather than addressing the potential why it's there in the first place. And we want to address the physical aspects because it is so underlooked, underappreciated at how important your nervous system is at making you stay clear, calm, focused, and connected with your daily life. It's really easy to feel disconnected when you're not feeling at your best. Disconnected from your partner, disconnected from yourself, your kids is so important when we're looking to keep our function at its best and live life at its best, because it's not normal. It's not normal to be having the brain fog, etc., but it's really common, which is why it's usually really frustrating when people come in, because they understand that their friends, their family don't experience this, so why do they? They want to feel better. And only when we work with your body being a self-healing, self-regulating system designed to be at its best and manage the environment internally and externally, that we can start making that big shift. Now, I hope that's useful. It's really important that when we're looking at these different things, to make sure you can get the best outcomes, we do the most specific analysis that we can do. It's not about spitfiring, it's about making sure you know exactly what you need to be doing to get the best result for you. Now, if you're interested in discovering more, links to the bar to figure out how to find us and how to work with us.